I'm meteorologist Scott Burchett in for meteorologist Matthew Crumley, who's on assignment. And, well, as far as the weather's concerned in South Georgia, you couldn't ask for any nicer weather as far as the dry skies are concerned. But those temperatures, well, they may be a bit on the cool side. Look at that. We are dropping down into the mid-30s by 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Those temperatures, well, they rebound a little bit by tomorrow, but still on the cool side in the low 60s by the drive home tomorrow. Now, as far as what we're tracking in the weather picture across South Georgia, we're looking at some pleasant daytime temperatures for the duration of the 7-day forecast, but those temperatures, they will be dropping as we head into the evening hours. Quite chilly at times, and well, I mentioned that we are rain free over the next day or so. We're going to see a little dry stretch as well. We'll talk about that in a bit, but first, your local news starts now.
South Georgia Television News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to South Georgia Television News. I'm Julie Milam sitting in for Morgan Hoover. We begin tonight on the police beat as Albany homicide detectives have another case on their hands with last night's discovery on South Jefferson Street. And as South Georgia Television News Quinlan Parker reports, police need the community's help in this one as well as others. This is tonight's top story.
Well, Julie, the most recent homicide was actually just last night on South Jefferson Street. We first told you about this earlier this afternoon on South Georgia Television News Midday. The chief personally held a press conference earlier this afternoon to talk about the recent homicides and is making a plea with the community to come forward with any information to help investigators in solving these homicide cases, not just the recent ones, but in years past as well, within the last decade, actually. Chief personally says officers were called to the 1400 block of South Jefferson Street just after 11:30 Monday night. Once on the scene, they found the victim deceased.
Upon their arrival, officers found 37-year-old black male Mario Raven in the front yard of 1411 South Jefferson Street. He was observed by a witness walking out of 1409 South Jefferson Street and falling into the yard at 1411. Officers did discover that the victim was deceased, and immediately an investigation began to determine who was responsible for this homicide.
This latest homicide comes on the heels of Friday's fatal shooting of 62-year-old Gregory Jesse, which police have the description of the getaway car which sped away from West 2nd Avenue and Ujamar Road. Still no suspects have been named, much like many of the other homicides that have not been solved, including Nigel Brown, Shaman Hammock, and Davari Kennedy.
Within this time, these names will never be forgotten by the community as they're not forgotten by the family. So anyone with information is urged to contact law enforcement to provide whatever information you have so we can get closure for these families.
And to put things into perspective for you, Julie, the South Jefferson slaying actually marks the city's 12th homicide this year. The chief personally says that the families of these victims deserve justice and that he and his department are going to continue to, quote, seek closure for them, end quote. Now, if you have any information that can help investigators in any of the homicides within the past decade or any homicide that is unsolved, if you have any information, you're asked to call the Albany Police Department. That number is 229-431-2100. You can also call Crime Stoppers and remain anonymous. That number is 229-436-TIPS. You can also receive an award if you give police or investigators or Crime Stoppers a credible tip that can help lead to an arrest. Because local matters in Albany, I'm Quinlan Parker, South Georgia Television News.
Albany police are also investigating what may have caused a deadly motorcycle accident. It happened a little after 6:30 this morning at the intersection of Slappy and Pine. That's where police say the motorcycle, driven by 40-year-old LaShala Deanne Worthy, was struck by an oncoming pickup truck. Dougherty County Coroner Michael Fowler pronounced Worthy dead at the scene an hour later. There's no word yet on the condition of the truck driver or whether any charges may be filed. Police do want to file charges on this man. He's a burglary and home invasion suspect linked to a break-in last Thursday at the Sand Hill apartment complex. Albany police are circulating these photos online in hopes of identifying the suspect. If you can help, please give them a call at 229-431-2100 for APD directly, or you can call Crime Stoppers at 229-436-TIPS to remain anonymous. Let's talk politics now. Our Peach State voters are truly answering the call for the first day of early voting and shattering the previous record for turnout. Nicole Killian has more from Atlanta.
Voters lined up, eager to cast their ballots.
People have fought for us to have the right to vote, so we are persistent about coming to vote early.
For some, their decision's finally made in the tightly contested race for U.S. Senate between Senator Raphael Warnock and GOP nominee Herschel Walker.
Herschel is more of a Georgia guy, and he has the interest of people in Georgia at heart.
I'm supporting Warnock this time around because obviously as a woman I need to be able to protect my rights.
Warnock was among those in the voting booth fresh off a debate where Walker declined to appear.
It's too bad Herschel Walker didn't show up.
And a Friday night face-off where the two tangled over law enforcement in a viral exchange.
I've never pretended to be a police officer, and I've never threatened a shootout with the police. I am with many police officers.
You have a prop.
Yes.
That is not allowed, sir.
What was your reaction when Mr. Walker pulled out that badge?
I think what we saw clearly Friday night and last night is that my opponent, Herschel Walker, is not ready.
Walker defended his performance, saying it was an honorary badge from a local department.
Which is a legit badge.
In a new interview, the GOP candidate also acknowledged for the first time that he wrote a check for the woman who claims he wanted her to have an abortion more than a decade ago, but denied that's what it was used for.
Is that your signature on the check, though?
Let me see. It could be. But it doesn't matter whether it's my signature or not. Yes, that's my check.
And in another closely watched contest, Republican Governor Brian Kemp and Democrat Stacey Abrams participated in their first debate in a rematch from 2018. Former President Obama is set to campaign for Abrams and Senator Warnock here in Atlanta later this month. Nicole Killian, CBS News, Atlanta.
Let's get to those debate highlights with reporter Eva McKind as Democratic challenger Stacey Abrams lags in most polls. And last night, she went on the defensive.
Just 21 days before the midterm elections. In Georgia, it's not only about the House and the Senate.
This is the general election debate among candidates for governor.
Facing off Monday night in their first of two scheduled debates, Stacey Abrams, a Democrat, Shane Hazel, a Libertarian, and the incumbent Governor Brian Kemp, a Republican, each making the case for deserving their vote.
The current failures we have seen in this state are not only damning, they are disqualifying. And over the next few years, we have an opportunity to change the trajectory of the state.
My desire is to continue to help them fight through 40-year high inflation and high gas prices and other things that our Georgia families are facing right now, quite honestly, because of bad policies in Washington, D.C.
Governor Kemp campaigning for a second term and has led polling in the race. But for many Georgians, this election is a rematch of the 2018 contest between Kemp and Abrams. While a federal judge ruled last month Georgia's election law did not violate voters' constitutional rights, in response to a lawsuit brought by Abrams-founded group Fair Fight Action starting in 2018, the Democratic candidate repeated some of these accusations to Georgia voters.
We need a governor who believes in access to the right to vote and not in voter suppression, which is the hallmark of Brian Kemp's leadership.
Governor Kemp pushed back against Abrams' claims.
For someone to say that we have been suppressive in our state when we've seen turnout increase over the years, including with minorities like African Americans, Latinos, and others, is simply not true.
The two also faced off on the issues of business ownership for minorities and social equity.
We are the ones that have been fighting for you when Miss Abrams was not. We were giving tax refunds. We were doing tax cuts. We were suspending the gas tax to help you deal with 40-year high inflation when she was criticizing us.
Stacey Abrams, 30-second rebuttal.
I would point out that Mr. Kemp did not address the needs of purchasing and contracts for black and brown-owned businesses. He has said that we need to study it. I would tell him just cheat off of my paper. I know the answer.
The heated debate comes as early voting begins in Georgia, the Peach State, home to another critical midterm race. And it is here where control of the Senate, which is split 50-50, could be decided. Incumbent Democrat Raphael Warnock facing Republican nominee Herschel Walker in a close race. Casting his ballot Monday, Reverend Warnock renewed his attacks against Walker.
My opponent, Herschel Walker, is not ready. I pointed out the fact that he claimed to be in law enforcement, to be a police officer, and that he threatened a shootout with the police. And his response was to produce a fake badge.
Appearing on NBC's The Today Show, Walker once again showed his honorary sheriff's badge, which he previously claimed was legitimate in a debate last week, and denied allegations of domestic violence made by his son.
I love my son Christian. I love my whole family. I'll always love them and stuff. That's what I say for my son Christian. And I don't have any violence.
Libertarian nominee Shane Hazel also took shots at his opponents and plainly stated his desire to send the election to a runoff. If no one gets a clear majority on Election Day, the top two finishers advance to a one-on-one contest. Let's go to Moultrie now, where the Sun Belt Ag Expo is now underway. And as South Georgia Television News reporter Mary Alexanders discovered, the expo is a great place to plant a seed and watch it grow.
It's the first day of the 44th annual Sun Belt Ag Expo, where farmers from all over the country come together to showcase new technologies, promote their brands, and more. But there's one man in particular who grows for a cause.
With Flint River Fresh, we're a nonprofit. We want to increase access to fresh food in our communities. Nowadays, people are making a hard choice between, keeping my lights on or, buying food sometimes. And so sometimes the food that they buy isn't as nutritious as what they could have. So here's a way at little or no cost for you to have access to more nutritious food.
Farmer Fredo provides to these communities in many different ways, including working with local farmers and giving gardens.
We'll work with local farmers, bring what they have into the community, and then the second way we do it is by developing what we call these community food plots, or we like to call them giving gardens. So there are spaces where we're teaching people how to grow in their neighborhoods, and then are also open where people in those neighborhoods can kind of come through and harvest what they need for one meal to feed themselves and their family, just something fresh directly from the farm.
For 5 years, he has brought his garden to the Sun Belt Expo and says it is one of the most beneficial events for the organization.
So what it really does, it allows for us to share our practices, but then also we're able to build relationships. The universities that are here, they provide a lot of data and research that we take back and implement. The expo, every piece of it helps us further make sure fresh food is accessible and introducing people to an old-fashioned way of farming.
If you want to be a part of Flint River Fresh's mission, visit their Facebook and Instagram pages or email them at the address on your screen. Because Local Matters, I'm Mary Alexander, South Georgia Television News.
We'll have more from the expo with meteorologist Matthew Crumley in just a few minutes. But let's check in with South Georgia Sports Director Reese Furlow, who has a preview of tonight's upcoming sports report.
Happy Tuesday, Julie. We're just 24 hours away from the start of the 2023 NBA season, and the Atlanta Hawks are on a mission to be one of the best teams in the East. Hear from Hawks players on what it's going to take to win it all and more coming up in sports.
Thank you, Reese. Still ahead on South Georgia Television News, we'll be back in Moultrie as meteorologist Matthew Crumley takes in this year's Sun Belt Ag Expo on its opening day. But first, we'll hear from meteorologist Scott Burchett about the chilly forecast when South Georgia Television News returns.
Packer football in Moultrie is Packer Nation. It is all football all the time. It's Friday Night Lights. It's everybody supporting the same cause.
Everybody loves tailgating. It brings everybody together. It's a real tight-knit family atmosphere. Well, the Lassiters are supportive just because they've been here for generations. I mean, it's their place they call home. I mean, that's what the whole community really stands by. We live and breathe football down here.
Lassiter Motor Company wishes you and your team a winning season.
No matter where you live, Montlick & Associates is available 24/7 to help you after an injury. Call 1-800-LAW-NEED for your free consultation or simply dial #WIN from your cell phone. That's #946.
Why is Georgia outperforming the rest of the nation? Because we said no to everything Stacey Abrams wanted to do. She demanded more COVID lockdowns. She wanted schools and businesses closed, like in California. Abrams wanted to eliminate cash bail, pushing the same scheme that's fueling crime in New York. And Abrams wanted job-killing higher taxes over and over and over again. Georgia's doing better because we didn't do any of the things Stacey Abrams wanted.
Montlick & Associates. Call 1-800-LAW-NEED for your free consultation.
At Douglas Metal and Steel Manufacturing, we only use top quality steel and roofing. And with our on-staff custom designer, we can customize your building to best suit your needs. From large commercial, agriculture, or just a place to store your stuff. And it comes with a written 40-year warranty that we'll put in your hand. It's not just quality we stand behind, but we stand on. Call today for a free quote. Douglas Metal and Steel Manufacturing. We are steel number one.
Your Weather Authority forecast with meteorologist Matthew Crumley, sponsored by Georgia Metals.
Welcome back to South Georgia Television News. I'm meteorologist Scott Burchett. In for meteorologist Matthew Crumley, looking at a cool, dry day across the area. 62 right now, Albany. And as far as those winds, yeah, getting a little bit of a wind gust from the northwest, 15 miles an hour. So may make it feel a little cooler out there than what it actually is. Humidity, I mentioned dry, look at that, 21%. So definitely on the dry side out there. And as far as that barometric pressure, it's falling right now. Temperatures in the low 60s for the most part. Moultrie 63, same for Thomasville. Albany 62. But then go off to the west, go off to the north, and we actually see some upper 50s. So places like Americus, 57 degrees, Blakely 59. So not everyone in the 60s right now. And those temperatures are going to come right on down. As far as the satellite radar, not seeing anything across the area as far as any thick clouds. We do have some light clouds from time to time. And by the way, the pink that you see in the fuchsia, that is fire weather warning conditions, and those go for the next few hours. But as far as later tonight, we have a freeze watch for the western part of the viewing area. So anything outside, if you haven't already, bring it in, because any plants, they have a chance of dying from the cold. And if you can't bring them in, likely will not make it even if you cover them over. As far as the satellite radar wider view, you can see some clouds out of the Gulf of Mexico. The rain, though, stays well in Florida and then off well into the Gulf. So looking dry for South Georgia. As far as Futurecast is concerned, yeah, you can see we're keeping it dry over the next few hours. And a trough of low pressure passes by to the north. For us, though, doesn't mean anything but maybe a few light clouds. The clock runs, but you can see nothing really comes in here, and even another trough off to the west, but doesn't make it in here. As far as those future temps are concerned, yeah, we're going to drop down. Look at that, dropping down to, well, right around the freezing mark. Cuthbert, you may drop below freezing. Other areas pretty close to the freezing mark. That's why we're looking at the possibility for a freeze. And as far as tomorrow, looking at another day where we will be in the upper 60s, dropping down into the 30s once again tomorrow night. As far as future rainfall, we are going to be keeping it dry, and that means a dry night for tonight. Look at that, dropping down to the low to mid 30s with mostly clear skies. And as far as tomorrow is concerned, it's going to be warm but not hot, 63 with lots of sunshine. I'll be back in a bit with the 7-day forecast.
Hey y'all, Halloween is here, and if you're tired of being tricked or scared by prices, then come see us at South Georgia Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Cordele, where we have your treat. We have brand new Rams and brand new Jeeps at invoice. That's right, buy at invoice when you trade your vehicle with us. So give us a call or visit online to schedule your appointment today. South Georgia Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, elevating the car buying experience.
As a commanding general of Fort Benning, I had the distinct honor of working with a great American, Sanford Bishop. Sanford helped the Army add 20,000 new jobs. He helped grow the Marine Corps Logistics Base in Albany and Robins Air Force Base. And he brought Columbus a great new VA clinic. We could always count on Sanford to take care of our soldiers and our veterans. He was in the fight all the way. I'm honored to call Sanford Bishop my friend.
I'm Sanford Bishop. I approve this ad.
I trust Sanford Bishop with my life.
2 years ago, Georgia sent Raphael Warnock to the Senate, giving Joe Biden the deciding vote to control Washington. Warnock voted for Biden's reckless spending, driving inflation to brutal levels. They wasted hundreds of millions on luxury boondoggles and COVID checks to criminals in prison. Now, our economy's headed into recession, while they passed billions in higher taxes on hardworking Georgians. To stop Biden, we need to stop Warnock. Senate Leadership Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Welcome back to South Georgia Television News. Well, it's exciting to be out at the opening of the annual Sunbelt Ag Expo, and we found this year's Swisher Sweet Southeastern Farmer of the Year. Meteorologist Matthew Crumley has more right now from Moultrie.
This year's Swisher Sweet Luncheon was packed. Members of the Sunbelt Ag Expo Committee welcomed Georgia Department of Agriculture Commissioner Gary Black, Governor Brian Kemp, and many others. And Scotty Rains, Georgia's Farmer of the Year, was proud to be nominated for this year's Swisher Sweet Southeastern Farmer of the Year.
When I looked up last night, we was at the presentation and looked up and saw my picture up on the screen. It was kind of humbling, very, very much so. It's just a great honor to be nominated.
Georgia Governor Brian Kemp says he is optimistic of the future of agriculture in Georgia.
Look forward to continuing to working with you all. We are so grateful for all that you do every day in advocating for our family farmers and for Georgia agriculture and for agriculture here in the Southeast.
Ag Commissioner Gary Black received a surprising honor from Chip Blaylock, the executive director of the Sunbelt Ag Expo. This year's Swisher Sweet Farmer of the Year was awarded to Robert Saunders of Virginia, who says he is living the dream.
As Daddy said, I've lived the dream, and I hope I keep living this dream for a long time. So thank you for everything, and thank you for believing in me, and an incredible class of people I've gotten to meet. This is way, way, way more than I was ever told it would be.
Because local matters, at Spencefield in Moultrie, Matthew Crumley, South Georgia Television News.
The expo wraps up on Thursday, and you don't want to miss it. For more details, please visit our website at southgatv.com. Well, it's time now for your Tuesday Hometown Sports Report with South Georgia Sports Director Reese Furlow. He's gearing us up for Pro Hoops. Get ready. Good evening, Reese.
Good evening, Julie. Basketball season officially tips off tonight. So that means, hold on, give me one second here. Let's do some rearranging. Let's go ahead and put that there. Yep, that looks good right there. And we'll just leave that there. Perfect. Awesome. That looks good, don't it? And for the Atlanta Hawks, they look to improve off a 43-39 record from last season, where they finished as the 8th seed and lost in the first round of the playoffs to the Miami Heat. But Atlanta has called in the reinforcements to give Trae Young some help, like two-way guard DeJounte Murray, who's coming off his best season where he averaged 21 points, 8 rebounds, and 9 assists in 68 games for the San Antonio Spurs last season. So how's he feeling about starting a new season with his new squad?
Oh yeah, it's go time. You know, this is the NBA. It's no joke. You know, each and every night it's going to be a battle. And you just got to be ready to go out and produce and do what you do.
The Hawks will open up the season against the Houston Rockets, a team they beat and lost to last season. But head coach Nate McMillan already has the game plan for sweeping them this time around.
I mean, it's a lot of energy, a lot of guards, you know, so they are playing really 4 guards most of the time out on the floor. And all those guys are creators, playmakers, that everybody's going to be challenged to keep the ball in front.
And before we go, don't forget the high school football game of the week polls are now open. Do you want to see us in Moultrie as the Packers look to remain undefeated this season? Should we head to Jackie Robinson's hometown to check on Cairo and Westover? Or do you want to see us in Tifton as the Blue Devils try to avoid last place in 6A with a win over Veterans? The choice is yours. Just head on over to southgatv.com/sports to make your pick for which team you want to see us give the top coverage, and we'll announce the winner in Friday's show, along with Beyond the Whistle from Mary Alexander's, Daisy's Decision, and plenty more. Well, that was your look at your South Georgia sports. Back to you, Julie.
Thank you, Reese. We'll be back with more right after this commercial break.
I'm a lifelong Republican.
I'm an independent.
I usually vote Republican.
But there is no way that I can vote for Herschel Walker.
The lies, the bizarre statements, I just don't get it.
His history of violence that he won't answer questions for.
If he can't be honest with me, I can't vote for him.
I vote for the person, not the party. So I'm voting for Raphael Warnock.
He has the best interest of Georgia in mind.
He listens.
Warnock's honest.
This time, I'm voting for Raphael Warnock.
I'm Raphael Warnock, and I approve this message.
Are you having a difficult time getting your dog to respond to you? At Real Life Canine in Moultrie, Georgia,
We use over 20 years of experience to teach your dog obedience is enjoyable. Then we teach you how to maintain this new relationship with your pet. We take a real-life approach to teaching your pet to respond to you where you live by having your pet live in our home during training. Go to reallifecanine.com, like us on Facebook, or call today for a free phone consultation at 229-589-0358.
Carrie is great. She's a really caring, kind person. She was injured in 3 accidents. We helped her with all 3 accidents.
I had injuries on my leg, on my lower back, my neck, had whiplash. I was very happy that I selected Montlick. Sometimes you don't remember what people say to you, but you remember how they treat you. If there were anyone in a car accident, I would certainly recommend Montlick.
Reverend Warnock's running a nasty, dishonest campaign. Perfect for Washington. The Reverend doesn't even tell my full story, my true story. As everyone knows, I had a real battle with mental health. Even wrote a book about it. And by the grace of God, I've overcome it. Warnock's a preacher who doesn't tell the truth. He doesn't even believe in redemption. I'm Herschel Walker, saved by grace, and I approve this message.
Taking a look at that 7-day forecast, check this out. You will not need that umbrella over the next 7 days because we are looking at some dry conditions and some chilly weather. By the way, chilly weather, that is Reese Furlow's favorite kind of weather, so he gets to break out the sweaters for a few more days. And then look at that, those daytime highs go back in the 70s, even into the low 80s by early next week. Those morning lows, though, we come out of the icebox into the 40s and 50s by the time we wrap up the weekend the next week. So looking better as the days progress, Julie.
We love looking better, Scott. It always looks good to us. Thank you. We're ready to talk about our pet of the day. For weeks, we've been reporting how shelters across South Georgia have been inundated with the rising tide of cats. So much so, we're seeing appeals for both kitten and adult cat food now, plus litter. The Fitzgerald Ben Hill County Animal Shelter is totally tapped out of both, and we're seeing the same from Best Friends Animal Shelter in Worth County. So our appeal tonight is more immediate than adoption or rescue. If you can help either shelter with food or supplies, or the shelter closest to you, we ask that you donate what you can, and when you do, please let the hard-working shelter volunteers know that you're helping answer the call for help because you heard it here on South Georgia Television News. Well, we thank you for joining us this Tuesday evening. We hope to see you here again tomorrow. For all of us here at South Georgia Television News, I'm Julie Milam. Have a great night.
Dr. Tripp Morgan with his staff at Albany Vascular Specialist Center, located at 2300 Dawson Road, Albany, Georgia, is Southwest Georgia's only outpatient vascular center, specializing in the diagnosis and treatment of peripheral arterial disease, varicose veins, dialysis access, and complex wound care. Now also offering non-invasive vascular procedures at Crisp Regional Hospital in Cordele, Georgia.
At Albany Vascular, we treat everyone like family.
Thank you for calling Montlick & Associates. How may we help you?
With so many firms out there, it's easy to get confused. That's why I tell my friends, if you don't see or hear the name Montlick, then you haven't reached the right firm. Montlick attorneys are easy to speak with, and they know what it takes to win. If you've been injured, call 1-800-LAW-NEED for your free consultation, or simply dial #WIN from your cell phone. That's #946. You pay no fee unless you win.
Watching WSWG, Valdosta, Albany, Moultrie.
Hey y'all, Halloween is here, and if you're tired of being tricked or scared by prices, then come see us at South Georgia Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Cordele, where we have your treat. We have brand new Rams and brand new Jeeps at Invoice. That's right, buy at Invoice when you trade your vehicle with us. So give us a call or visit online to schedule your appointment today. South Georgia Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, elevating the car buying experience.
2 years.
years ago, Georgia sent Raphael Warnock to the Senate, giving Joe Biden the deciding vote to control Washington. Warnock voted for Biden's reckless spending, driving inflation to brutal levels. They wasted hundreds of millions on luxury boondoggles and COVID checks to criminals in prison. Now our economy's headed into recession, while they passed billions in higher taxes on hard-working Georgians. To stop Biden, we need to stop Warnock. Senate Leadership Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.